Good morning, everyone. Welcome to SJ Weekly for October 21st, 2018. Though I'm still considering Torvar's Age of Reason title. I don't know. I'm still going back and forth on it. Maybe I should put a poll here. You know what? I'll tweet out a poll. I'll put a link to the poll as a pinned comment in this video, and we'll see which title you guys like better, SJ Weekly or Age of Reason. In any case, because it is the season, I've decided to start my day off right with a pumpkin spice latte. I've never really had one of these before, but I do know its mimetic value. So let's see. Why do people drink this shit? So recently, Scrump and I did a video on the NPC meme, and there were a few choice ones that we missed. You know, for example, noticing that the Mac icon looks like an NPC, or the Photoshop of Spoonie as an NPC. Funny stuff like that. But I'm going to begin with this video here, alright?
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Wow. This is extremely hilarious to our democracy, you mean? But let's actually begin with New York witches place hex on Brett Kavanaugh. This is a continuation of last week's supernatural battle between the power of prayer and priests versus the power of magic and witches. The occult turned partisan on Saturday as a coven of New York witches placed a hex on U.S. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. It was an act of resistance and resilience. A Catholic priest and exorcist in California, Father Gary Thomas, planned to counter the spell by saying prayers for the justice at Mass. I want to see magical spells and abilities being lobbed across the United States for the next little while, guys. One of the organizers of the event said they would not share the details or specifics of the spells, but told the BBC that the hex was aimed at exposing Brett Kavanaugh for what he truly is, to cause him harm and see him undone. Oh, and we got it looks like a Trump doll. A Brett Kavanaugh doll? And is that Putin? Is that Putin as the third one?
We open this space in order to accomplish that which we have set out, and we welcome in all of the ones who have heard our call, the deities and goddesses, ancestors and spirits, angels and saints, shades and devils, who walk with us and hear our prayers, our songs, and our rituals. Now is a time of great trouble, and it is you we call upon. We welcome your wise counsel and your
Jesus, it kind of sounds like the Akira soundtrack, doesn't it?
protections, for the most vulnerable among us is under threat. Glorious and holy ones, aid us in this work, and rain down divine retribution on the heads of every one of these evil men.
Okay, I've had enough of this lightning bolt shit. Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt! Let's continue with a white woman falsely accused a black 9-year-old boy of groping her. This went viral over the past week, and the basic story is that you got this crackhead-looking woman right here. She was in a 7-Eleven or something. A black 9-year-old boy walked by, and she thought that he had touched her butt. A cell phone video of a white woman calling the cops on a 9-year-old black boy outside a Brooklyn convenience store went viral on social media last week. In the video, the woman, nicknamed Corner Store Carolyn on Twitter, claims that the kid grabbed her butt while she was in line at the store. And here's the surveillance footage of the event in question. Just watch here. Here's a woman coming around. She walks up to the counter. There's the boy in green. It looks like his backpack brushes against her, and she immediately thinks sexual assault. And so the encounter begins. Sexual assault, guys. It's always sexual assault. Toxic masculinity. Can't trust anybody these days. And as a quick aside, happy anniversary to this post. I know it's one day late, but from October 20th, 2016, our presidential forecast updated. An 8% chance of Donald Trump winning. Man. Imagine the people who actually put money or bet somehow on the election. How much do you think they won? What was it, like 1,000 to 1 odds? How much money do you think Trump earned them? But let's continue down the rabbit hole of mundane articles, because really that's all we've got this week is mundane, ridiculous bullshit. Why white people don't use white emoji? Well, I can say right now, anyone who talks to me privately on Discord or whatever, I use exclusively the darkest emoji I can because I love the idea of digital blackface. When they were first launched in 2015, emoji skin tones corrected an obvious wrong. Previously, if a black man or a Latino woman wanted to text a friend the thumbs up emoji on an iPhone, a white hand would show up. Well, it was actually yellow. And the main reason yellow is the primary emoji and not white or peach or black or brown is because emojis are always a yellow smiley face. They come from the original yellow smiley face. So you would assume that a yellow smiley face's hand would be a yellow hand. As emoji with skin tone spread to Twitter, Facebook, and workplace chat applications like Slack, I noticed something I hadn't expected. While I saw plenty of yellow thumbs up and black thumbs up, almost no one I knew used the lightest skin tone, or even the second lightest. Indeed, as a white man who tends to be either pale or sunburnt, I had never considered using it myself. When I did switch briefly to the lightest tone at work, it felt weird. Maybe it's because you're so full of fucking white guilt that you think it's a betrayal to even use a fucking emoji skin tone that matches your own goddamn skin. This effect may signal a squeamishness on the part of white people. The folks I talked to before writing this story said it felt awkward to use an affirmatively white emoji, at a time when white skin tone modifiers are used to assert racial identity. Proclaiming whiteness felt uncomfortably close to displaying white pride, with all the baggage of intolerance that carries. At the same time, they said, it feels like co-opting something that doesn't exactly belong to white people. Weren't skin tone modifiers designed so people of color would be represented online? So hold on. Co-opting something that doesn't exactly belong to white people is white people using white skin tones on their emojis? Okay, straight up, this is a non-issue and this is a ridiculous story and there's no reason this article should have ever been published. However, even if we accept the ridiculous logic of this being a discussable problem, nothing in this article makes sense. And speaking of articles that don't make sense, how to eat out a non-op trans woman. Trans women who haven't had bottom surgery and trans sex experts weigh in on oral pleasure. It's called a blowjob. I'm not sure if I even want to read this one. Every body is different, which means pleasure is always complex, and that's the case even for acts as common as oral sex. For this installment of How to Sex, I interviewed non-op and pre-op trans women, that is, trans women who have not had bottom surgery and may never get it, about how they like to be orally pleasured. Well, yeah. It's going to be the same as most guys who like to be orally pleasured, because it's a blowjob. It's not about... I'm just going to quickly jump ahead here. This scarf looks like a vagina. Which is fine, I guess. I mean, don't sound too enthused about it. Fendi has created a scarf that bears an uncanny resemblance to female genitalia. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot. The pink scarf's various folds and fur trim are probably, no definitely, what makes it look like a vagina. Well, vulva, if we're being technical. And if you're telling me you don't see it, you're lying. Women's fashion. Holy fuck. It's $990 for this thing. Man, I wouldn't even pay that much for a real vagina. The article, of course, includes some funny tweets, but I really wanted to bring up this one. Is there a woman or person alive who wants to walk around with a hairy vagina scarf around their neck? Well, the actual answer to that is yes. There are many women alive who want to do that. Because, as we know from the protests, many women and men wear pussy hats. and they don't just stop there. They also dress up as giant vaginas during protests against Trump. So I guess women's fashion is just keeping up with the times. And speaking of Twitter, Twitter will publicly flag tweets that violate its terms of service. The original title for this article, as you can see in the URL, is Twitter will publicly shame bad tweets by flagging them, but they changed the title. A lot of these shittier outlets do that a lot, like Mashable and Vice and Vox and Slate. They'll just change the titles and they don't even give a shit. There's nothing like a little public pressure to get someone to clean up their act. Twitter announced a change on Wednesday that will make it clear when someone has posted a tweet that violates Twitter's terms of service. Now, when Twitter has determined that a tweet has crossed the line, a gray box with a message will appear in place of the original tweet that reads, "This tweet is no longer available because it violated the Twitter rules." It will also include a link to Twitter's terms. The message will appear both at the URL of the original tweet and on the tweeter's profile, and it will remain up for 14 days after the user deletes the offending tweet. So anyone who visits your Twitter profile might see that you posted a message that someone else successfully reported. That's right. If Twitter decides a tweet you posted violates its terms of service, everyone who comes to your profile will know. So they're going to use public shaming now to try and curb the enthusiasm of Twitter users. Well, we all know how well that works. Do what you must, Twitter. I have already won. And let's stay on Twitter for a little bit, because we got a really funny Swedish commercial here. And they're selling juice, by the way, in this commercial. Keep that in mind. They're a juice selling company.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for...
I have never seen somebody so happy to get cucked in my entire life. What is the absolute state of Sweden right now? What the fuck's going on over there? We have another Twitter video here from Breaking 9/11. Video allegedly shows members of far-right Proud Boys group beating up Antifa members in New York City. Let's watch this. Seems to be a surveillance camera. There's Antifa. Looks like they throw a bottle at them and approach, and then they get the shit kicked out of them by the Proud Boys. I don't know why the headline of this video is that it's the Proud Boys who are beating up Antifa. Antifa very clearly initiated the conflict and then got their shit pushed in. Gee, oh, wow, holy shit. I didn't know how violent this was going to get. I mean, I guess this is what happens when you decide to start a fight you can't win, eh? Now, the protest that happened at was covered in the obvious way, the way that we all know that mainstream media covers it. Mob of white nationalist Proud Boys brutally beat several men. Are you brave now, faggot? Meanwhile, Fox News is still trying to paint liberals as the violent mob. Well, Antifa's still the violent mob. It's just that they've now come up against someone who is willing to defend themselves. And their self-defense might be violent, but it's not the same, is it? Because they're not starting fights. The Proud Boys took Manhattan Friday night, attending a lecture by their founder, Gavin McInnes, at the Metropolitan Republican Club of New York City. Following the event, the white nationalist group took to the streets, brutally beating and kicking several individuals who started the fight, which you're obviously leaving out here, while shouting faggot and cocksucker, reportedly because one of them stole one of their MAGA hats. You know, that's actually reason enough as well. Like, you can, in fact, defend your property from theft. Do you think it's just acceptable now to steal a MAGA hat? You see someone wearing a MAGA hat, it's just fair game to take it? You know, personal property doesn't really apply anymore? But the media likes to focus on the Proud Boys as being a white nationalist group. And they're not. Like, there's definitely a right-wing group. They're definitely a Western chauvinist group, but they're not white nationalist. Those are different concepts. Like, Western nationalist is not white nationalist. In fact, if you were to look at a picture of the Proud Boys, you see a couple Asians in there. Looks like one Muslim guy. It's like there's a couple black guys, a couple of Latinos. It's not it doesn't seem to be a white nationalist group at all. In fact, the Proud Boys seem to have more racial diversity within their ranks than the editorial board of the Huffington Post, which is pretty much all white women. And speaking of diversity, Immigrant Council of Ireland hit out against racist graffiti. Racist graffiti that has appeared in the Newlands Cross area of Dublin has been condemned by the Immigrant Council of Ireland. The slogans, which carry messages about Irish ethnicity, have been described as disappointing, particularly at this time of year. Okay, well, we have a Phoenix Rising. I'm not sure if that's in reference to something that I don't understand, being non-Irish. However, here's the graffiti. Protecting Irish ethnicity is not a hate of others. Racism is a blackmail word. This is a hate crime now. This is apparently racism now. It's not even condemning another race. It's not saying anything about non-Irish people. It's not saying anything about non-white people. It's simply saying protecting Irish ethnicity is not hatred of other people. And if that statement itself is now considered hatred, if that statement is now considered racism, then almost anything can be racism at this point. It's almost like if you got a native Irish person, you know, with like light skin and red hair or something, and they say, you know, I would like to marry somebody who also has light skin and red hair. I'm not interested in, say, race mixing with an immigrant. And there's nothing against them personally. I'm sure they're fine people. It's just that I would like my children to look like me. Now, you might say that that person's shallow, and honestly, they're probably shallow. But are they racist? Are they hate-filled? I don't think so. But we've got more important things to talk about, like Kleenex banning man-sized tissues. Kleenex is scrapping the man-sized branding from its tissue boxes after 60 years on the shelves, as consumers called it out for being sexist. The company said the tissues would now be called extra large. Fine. Doesn't matter, does it? I don't really care that they were called man-sized. I don't really care now that they're called extra large. But apparently, somebody got mad over this. And that somebody sounds like they might be fucking retarded. Because who cares? It's just branding. There are more important things to worry about. If these are the problems that the UK has, either they live such cushy bourgeois lives that they don't really have anything to complain about other than Kleenex size namings, or they don't really have their priorities in order. But you know what? The child involved in this article might actually need some of those man-sized tissues. When is the right time to tell our son he's the product of an affair? Is it when he's 4? At 4 years old, you don't know really how Babby is formed yet. You don't know. You wouldn't understand if you were a product of an affair when you're 4. This is an Ask the Author or whatever type of article, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but just read this. 5 years ago, my partner cheated on me and got pregnant. We got past the infidelity, and I have raised her son as my own since the moment he was born. At what age is it appropriate to tell him that his social father and his biological father are not the same person? The biological father is not in the picture and seems to have no interest in being a parent. I think our son should be told eventually, but I think 4 is much too young. My partner disagrees. Well, dedicated dad. I'm not going to read her answer because who cares? Dedicated dad. Your first problem was staying with the woman that cheated on you. I understand that sometimes people can make a single mistake and they'll never do it again. I understand that you might be able to work past infidelity. However, I think it's obvious at this point that your problems are unresolved because you are staying with a woman who thinks that it's okay to tell her 4-year-old son that you are not the father, even as you try to fill that role and provide financially and provide emotionally. She wants to undermine that and basically go against you, even though you're stepping in. And really, you shouldn't be stepping in. You have no obligation to do so. If you didn't leave her before, you need to go now. And the worst part about it is that you'll probably be saddled with child support, even though it's not even your kid. But fuck, man. This woman is not worth your time, dude. What the fuck? Let's end it where we began, with the NPCs. I'm not really a fan of blackpill.com, but this is actually quite funny. Man dressed as NPC holds sign at Arizona protest saying Orange Man bad. Hours later, leftists still unable to tell him apart from actual protesters. I found a different picture as well, different angle. There you go, you got United Against Hate, Make Love Not War, all this Trump shit, and then you got this guy in the middle of it, Orange Man bad, with an NPC face. And these people cannot fucking tell that he's there to troll them. I don't know, man. Maybe NPCs are real. I don't understand anymore how this is happening. How you can't be able to notice. I don't know, guys. I'm after this week, I'm kind of at a loss for words. This has been the most ridiculous week that I've done on this show so far. As always, that about wraps it up for me. Quick announcement, I am doing the usual 5 nights a week Twitch streams, as I do every week. However, on Wednesday, we're doing something special. We have the PS4 game Friday the 13th, which is actually free on PlayStation Plus this month. And it's an online multiplayer game. So if you guys want to play with me on stream, pick it up, come message me in Discord or something, or message one of the mods in Discord if I'm not around, and we'll set it up. We'll have a lot of fun. Hope to see you guys there. I love you.